Welcome, Ajay Sharma. Thank you so much for being here. I know you're very busy, but your time will really benefit a lot of our audience. I know you have a great background from biomedical engineering to MBA in finance, and then business analyst experience, and then changing to countries, finding jobs there, and then now a senior product manager in cloud computing. It's an amazing journey, and there's a lot that we all can learn from it. So love for you to start and dig a bit deeper into your career journey of last 14 years.
Sure. No, thank you for having me on this channel. Really appreciate it. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. It's been a lot of twists and turns. I am currently working as a senior product manager at OpenText, which is Canada's one of the biggest software product company. I started my journey in the PM world about 7 years back. I grew into the role from a BA role. Initially, I was in the product role after I completed my biomedical engineering, and that was a more hands-on experience. I was working as a product design engineer, working on actual biomedical product and immunology analyzer, which we launched way back in India for a mid-sized market. And that's when I started my first stint at product development, right from inception to actual product launch. After that, completing my MBA at HCL, I was in US, started working as a BA role, grew in the BA role, and then naturally progressed into a product owner role and moved to a more higher role, which is right now at OpenText as a senior product manager.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's amazing how the journey has been. So yeah, just from the start, like if people want to find a job in product management, what would you suggest? Like go for LinkedIn or like one of these job portals or networking? What's the best way they can look for a PM job?
I would say it would be a mix of both based on my experience. I've been in three different countries in the product space for quite a long time. And based on my experience, it's kind of mix of both the things. You have to start essentially targeting the jobs at the specific company sites. You can apply to those specific company sites, specific roles you want to go for. And then at the same time, look who the role is for, and reach out to the team members belonging to that space, in that domain in LinkedIn. Reach out to them, connect with them, ask them any questions, any helpful tips, or any information they could provide as to what they're looking for in that role and what they're actually doing. So that will give you a good understanding of what the role is. And at the same time, LinkedIn is a good platform in itself. You can reach out and connect to a lot of jobs over there, a lot of people over there. They are over there to help you out, and if you play your cards right.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel, in fact, people don't use LinkedIn to the fullest capacity that it can be used. So, yeah, totally
Yeah.
agree. It's a mix, definitely. So,
Yeah.
what would you advise somebody who's trying to move from a business analyst role to a product manager role? What should be, top few things that they should be doing on a high level?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you for that question. Actually, being from a non-technical background, I feel that's a really good question for people who are actually looking for that kind of switch. And in a way, I feel not belonging to a technical background kind of gave me an edge. Working as a BA, you get tend to be more closer to the customer. You understand the stakeholder, what their requirements are, what they're looking for, and that kind of helps tune your ability to listen to the facts which they actually need. And most of the time what happens is you're talking to the customers, they might say one thing but they actually need something else. And that's where your knack lies, that's where your sensibility lies, in terms of understanding that, how do I understand what my customer needs. And I think that's a good start as a BA. I would say the switch essentially would require two things: develop your technical expertise, be more curious, learn as much as you want from the technical perspective. You don't have to dig deeper, just try to be at a high level, understand how various technologies work, what's the difference between Azure versus Google Cloud versus AWS, what's the pros and cons of using one technology over others, why should one use REST versus REST API versus an SOAP call. So those are the things which will help you understand more from the technical need, what you need. And once you develop that sensibility, I would say be more curious, try to learn as much as you want from the technical side, and just grow more, take more responsibilities, and get more experience in terms of the product life cycle, right from inception of the product right to the actual launch, and try to work on various use cases you have, and I think that will help you out.
Yeah, yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. And how does your day-to-day look like on a high level? What are the things that you do or are involved in a week span?
Yeah, it's being a PM, you are pulled into multiple areas in a given day. You have back-to-back meetings, but I would say on a high level, my day typically starts with attending Scrum meetings or any planning meetings focused on what the current release is, what are the needs for the current release are, where are we working, if we need anything, if they need my input. Moving on, there are other set of meetings whereby more creative, or I would say more development perspective, where I'm actually working on uh, with stakeholders, with the customers, trying to understand what their needs are, and actually developing a specific requirements, writing down those user stories and acceptance criterias for a specific feature. This also involves a lot of collaboration. You are bouncing off ideas with other PMs. So this is a good opportunity for PMs to get together. So I would say these are the two, and maybe later on, the other half of the day involves talking with the sales team or the support team. If they have any questions on the existing release, they might be getting from the customer, which is a good another cycle or a feedback loop which you tend to learn a lot from.
Yeah, and feedback is so important in a PM's life. I feel from the user to your team to the
Absolutely.
stakeholders. What do you think about feedback?
Absolutely. I think feedback is the one of the bases when we are talking more about agile. Feedback essentially helps you iterate the product, because right at the get go, you would not know what you have to build. You are just going with your gut instinct, your product sense, what the customer would need, and you would just launch your MVP. Once you launch your MVP, that's the opportunity when you listen closely to the customers, get the feedback, and then keep iterating the product. So feedback, listening close, being closer to the customers, it's really important. And a lot of times you get a lot of new ideas from the customers you might not be even thinking about. So I think that's one of the most crucial pieces in today's world, where everything is changing so fast, and being more agile is the mantra to go with.
Yes,
So yeah.
I like that. Being agile is the mantra to go with. That's for our audience. So, yeah, talking about feedback, and for some people, it's really difficult. And, so what are the most difficult part for you as a product manager, you would say?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there are a lot of challenges in itself in a PM role, because of multiple responsibilities a PM has to handle, and not being totally in the authority position, but still being able to influence. But if one thing I would like to pick, I would say the most challenging job as a PM is to decide what not to build in a product, because a lot of time as a PM, you have a wish list of what you want to build in a product, but you have those constraints, those resources which are not available at a given point of time, some legalities which come in place, and then you have to make these tough decisions. You have your backlog, you have your list of requirements, but now you don't know, given the time span, what you should deprioritize. So I would say one of the most important pieces is to develop that product sense in a way as to know what the customer would want, have form your own opinion as to what would be the most important piece we need to deliver, given the life cycle, the product life cycle we are in, whether in the adoption stage or we are more in the growth stage. So based on that, I would say learn more about your product sense and develop that intuition, and then try to understand what not to deliver given the constraints you have. I would say that's a challenge and a continuous learning experience.
Yeah, I really like you're leaving these nuggets for our audience, like product sense. Like it's so, so important, but not a lot of people talk about it. So definitely building a product sense will really help everyone who's listening to this.
and you learn it on the go. And to be honest with you, I have learned it over a period of time too. Based
Right.
on a PM, you get multiple inputs from various from your leadership. You're getting some input from customers. You are being pulled on your requirement. Your sales is pushing you, or the marketing is pushing for certain set of features. But you as a product manager, you have a complete 360 view of what the product, what are the competing priorities. And then over a period of time, if you learn more about the customers and various needs, and you gain some experience, you form your own opinion, and you are able to now with confidence say what not to build. So yeah, it's a learning process, but it's something you should develop.
Sure, for sure, for sure. What not to build is the way to go. So, what's the most interesting part of being a PM?
Well, personally speaking, for me, it's the creative side of things. Being a PM, you get to work on the latest features. You have people are looking forward to you to decide, how to build a specific. The development team is looking forward for inputs, and that's the space I enjoy the most, because that gives me that creative space to think from customer's perspective. What a customer would How the customer use a specific feature, what are their needs and what are their wants. Yes, you get the input from the UX research, but developing that initial solution or the user journey is the most interesting part for me, where you're out there, you can think out of the box, and go full throttle on understanding and building the complete roadmap for the feature. So I think that's the creative piece I enjoy the most.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And what are the tools that you rely on a day-to-day basis, for doing all this that you do?
Yeah, there are various tools available in the market for various tasks which you do. Most importantly, for product mapping, we tend to use Roadmonk or Jira. Also for task management, you have Jira, or version one is another tool which I have used, and it's quite nice tool. For collaboration purposes, I would say nowadays you have Slack, Teams, or Confluence. This is where you breathe in and out as a PM. You're spending most of your time working on these tools. And no doubt, Microsoft Office. You need to be a master of PowerPoint and Excel. You need to learn these tools, especially when you are there to present your ideas in a more concise form.
Yeah. And how would you say, again, like presenting ideas, like, so communication is so important in a PM's life, right? Like, what would you say that, that people should be developing their communication skills, like spend time on it and like, really build that?
For sure, I would say that's one of the critical pieces, because, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have a direct authority on any of these, whether it's a stakeholder, whether a development team. So you need to be more influential in a different way, in a non-authoritarian way. So the biggest tool which you have in your toolkit is a communication, being more concise, presenting your vision the way you want the product to be built in a very simple to understand manner. So I would say one of the tips is see where the person sitting in front of you is. What aspect is it? A technical person, is it a stakeholder, or is it a leadership? So based on that, you modify your communication, your pitch. And I would say listening to product school videos, that's another, or mind your product videos. A lot of webinars are available out there which will help you out. So go out there, listen to these webinars, listen to existing product managers, how they communicate, and that will help you.
Thank you. Yeah, it completely makes sense. So what if you could ask anything to a PM in an interview? What would you ask? Like, I've got these questions from so many aspiring PMs. So what would that be for you?
The most interesting question, which I normally tend to ask in most of the PM interviews, is essentially give them a situation whereby us talk about a product, most importantly, the product which we are interviewing for, and ask them a simple question in terms of which is one feature you would like to implement for this product, and how would you go about it and why. So this kind of touches multiple pieces. It helps us understand your product sense, how you are thinking, how you're analytical, your strategic and tactical experience too comes into play over here. So I think this is a very interesting question, which would test you all around.
Good, good. This is a good way for them to get prepared. And I'm sure if the audience wants to reach out to you, I know you're very active on LinkedIn, Twitter. Um, I'm sure you'd be open to, you're so helpful, so you'll be open to giving advice. Can they reach out to you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, no doubt about it. I'm there on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you. Any last piece of advice that you would like to give to our audience?
Thank you for having me on the channel. First of all, it was great talking to you, Tara. And I would say only one piece of advice which has helped me in my career overall is be curious, try to learn every day as much as you want, and try to develop your own opinion. So yeah, be hungry and be curious.
Wonderful. Be hungry and be curious. We leave on that note. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And have a wonderful day.
Thank you.